They didn't have to carry that one for 10 months.
They didn't have to carry it.
That's why. Why do you think grandparents always want the little ones around? Because they get to go home with mom and dad.
Yeah,
that would be 9 months.
Yeah.
No, but isn't it? I said 10 because isn't
40 weeks. That's
right? Isn't that why they call it like? I know it's supposedly 9 months, but I've heard from women that they say it actually
It feels
10
like
months,
10
right?
months.
It feels like a year.
It feels like a long time.
Yes.
Exactly. And when I was on the train station, it's like we got split up on the train. It's like, ooh, I can feel that for a moment. I can imagine making a foreign country. Yeah, I felt that kind of. I lost my wife in Argentina, and my Spanish isn't that good. Like, whoa, come back here. I am lost. So, yeah, those are some good examples of grammar to bring that in. You don't want it too complicated. You want to look out for jargon and acronyms. It's okay if you're in mixed company in your business meetings here. I'm sure you couldn't get through a meeting if you didn't use your jargon and acronyms. But when you're outside of that group, you have to be more aware of that. So that's all the reports, so that's pretty good. So now we can get back into the evaluations of the speeches themselves. And the nice thing with all 5 of them in one evaluator is I'm going to sort of compare and contrast and play them off each other, because all the speeches were very different. They weren't copies of each other, and they weren't following any kind of format in the same way. Al's speech started off a little bit confusing. I would have liked it more if you got right into the train station story. When you began your speech and listing off all the places you went, it was kind of like I could see all the spots on the map, but then my question is, where are you going with this? And that was sort of, I had the feeling like you didn't know where to start, but once you got that out and just stood up here and felt everyone looking at you and talking, then all of a sudden you just came alive. Because then you're like, so let me tell you about this time that I was in Germany, in the train station, the door split, and then we were really tuned in. And if you noticed how much more comfortable he felt it in himself, and so that he could step out from the side of the lectern and come out and talk to everyone. And that's one of those keys as a good speaker. You start with your notes, and you got to have your notes, because that gives you that. In fact, you know, I've been looking for this all freaking month this year. You're at the lectern, and you got to have your notes. I tore my house up last night going, I can't believe I'm going to come Rosie and we lost the manual of my notes. It's like, wait, here are my notes. Where'd that come from? You start with your notes, and then the lectern becomes your next best friend. And you want to just stay here, because this is safe. It's like a shield. You can't really see me. And then you learn that when you can really just come out, you know your message, and you want to connect with your audience, but then you can come out and work that whole room. Torrey Falls, train station, brothers split up. The other thing that was interesting about your speech is that you came up with a really good message in your speech. As new speakers, it's hard enough just to speak, so we work about those things. But then when you get more advanced, you want to think and be aware, what message do I want to leave people with after I got done speaking with them? What do you want to take away? And what I took away from your speech was, make a communication plan. Now you're thinking ahead with your wife, where you're going to do and what are you going to do when something goes wrong. And if you started with that, you'd be like, wow, you know, has anything ever gone wrong while you're traveling with your significant other or kids?
Every time. With the kids, every time.
So now you have a great story and a great message to take that around with and make it powerful and use that. And then it's also the power of the story. The contrast in your speech was giving the facts of like, here's a laundry list of all the places that I went, but everyone's going to remember the train station in Germany story. And it's the stories that we remember, so how can you make it into a story? For Chandra, your speech was all one big story about how you're so excited about your new grandbaby. And I think that's great. You had a passionate topic. I didn't see any notes. Did you take any notes up there with you? No, you just got up and spoke from the heart about something that you're passionate about. And that's where good speaking comes from. It's when you know your material and can internalize it and just let it out without being too attached to it. Like she was saying, I gotta have my notes. What if I forget something? It doesn't matter. Every speech, if you get down and say, oh man, I forgot to say that, it's okay. You just gotta let it go. Same thing with the timing. People go over time and won't get off the stage because they're so attached to the material. They gotta say everything that they wrote because it's so good, you gotta hear it all. And they talk faster and cram it down and you don't get any of it. But when you can let it go and say, oh, my time's up, here's the important points and let it go, you come across as much more genuine and and it soaks in better. You also had the lectern as your safety point, and I know you were very nervous. You're like, I'm going to go first, and I'm just going to get this over with. But you're dying to come out. I mean, you're reaching over the lectern. You had this new baby. He's so cute and cuddly. I want to show you how I feel this lectern is.
I'm just curious, had you written down notes before? Or no, you just got up out of the wind? You hadn't even thought about what you
No,
were...
I hadn't even thought about it. I was telling Val, I didn't write anything out at all. I'll just say whatever. I'm not used to talking about myself, so
Yeah.
I just...
So she was a wonderful speaker, right? The lectern was getting in her way. If she would have come out and just like, I'm so excited, I can't wait to hold that baby and play with it, and, you know, my man is going to be number 4 in my life. I know, I had twins. I became number 3 just like that. Big trial. Trust me, that drop was hard. So you have that. So you're ready to just come out and connect with your audience. Feel the confidence that they all liked you and they all wanted to hear what you had to say. You just have to make yourself available to your audience so that they can like you. And don't let things like the lectern get in your way.
It's that I hear my voice like cracking so much.
Yeah, I told her, I think you're cracking up.
See, I could hear
Did
it.
you?
I hear it. I hear it.
No.
But again,
It's like I
I
told
used
you
to
my
talk to
daughter,
her in the
she
morning,
was nervous.
and we just have these conversations, and so I know Chandra's regular voice.
Yeah, you know a regular voice versus a cracking
Right.
voice. And I could hear the nervous crack, that you were fighting the nervousness while you were talking. And it does cause your voice to crack. And that's perfectly natural. And that just means you have to get up here and do it again. Chandra gets bonus points. She did come to Doral Toastmasters 2 weeks ago and had to give table topics, and you spoke for 2 minutes impromptu about your mother's traffic ticket. And it's a good story. It was a good story. So that nervousness that you feel inside, you got to let that out and come out in your voice with power. Assume that your audience loves you, and you need to share that love. If the conversation in your mind is self-doubt, oh, what are you talking about? Oh, you forgot about the baby, you forgot your next point, what are you going to do? Then your voice cracks, and you can destroy yourself from the inside, and then you're not available to your audience. So when you can take that same nervous energy and project it out, you really connect with everyone. And now I find now my speaking is as big as the room. I can't speak too loud in here because I'm hearing the echo and I'm already bouncing it off the back wall. Saturday I got to speak in an auditorium, 300 people. I'm going to be a mile away from my audience, so I got to be bigger than life. So you got to fill that room. All right, moving on to Lloyd. Another wonderful story. You took me right to the farm, and I like that you brought the prop with your fruit and talked about something that was personal to yourself. The farm is passion for me. You like the hard work, and you take the rain, mosquitoes, and the snakes. Remember all those things. It's not all wine and roses, just sitting back, drinking that lychee, eating lychees, drinking wine, smoking a cigar. But it was very interesting how you're able to take your farm and the current reality that you've created and how it ties to your past and how much you enjoyed being on your grandparents' farm in Jamaica and how you've created that new reality here. So that's very good. To make your speech a little bit more powerful, some more descriptions of the farm. Give me more of an emotional tie to it. What does the fruit taste like? What does the ground smell like after it rains? When's the time that a snake surprised you? How many times? I could talk for 10 minutes on that. Snakes everywhere. Exactly, you're back out in the Everglades. But that tranquility plays. And then also watch the topics. Because we're doing quick speeches at 3 minutes, it's being able to take one topic and go deep. So between your farm and your grandparents, those are actually 2 separate speeches that would easily stand alone, but you could tie them together just due to time. But I really like the way that came from. So if you were going to have a message that you wanted to leave your audience with, what would your message be?
I guess it's how your childhood days influence you as an adult. That's where my farm comes from.
Okay. The other thing I heard in your speech is that relaxation isn't about pleasure. You know, most people go golfing, or they want to sit around and do nothing, or they want to be entertained and watch TV. And here you are working hard 8 to 5 at an office job or in an office place, and now your farmer goes by digging ditches and moving fruit, and it's heavy, hard work, but you enjoy it.